Georgia. On Friday, Major League Baseball moved this year's All-Star game out of the state amid a new oppressive voting law that is nothing but blatant suppression. Joining me to discuss this is Georgia Congressman Hank Johnson and former Citigroup executive and now a New York City mayoral candidate, Maguire. Let me go to you first, Ray. You were among 72 black executives who asked that companies fight voter suppression bills like the one that just became law in Georgia. This was 72 top executives, including you, that did this in an ad in the New York Times this week. Why do you and your colleagues feel strongly that this is the right way to address this?
Reverend Al, thank you for having me. And you're right, we did come together. We came together as a group of black and brown leaders who know the shoulders on which we stood to get here. We came together as leading, outstanding leaders in the corporate world. We came together as Americans who have respected and upheld the values of the fundamental values of this country. And yes, we've come together to say to other corporate leaders that those who believe in getting involved in social justice, now is the time. Now is the time. So it is a clarion call that we've come together to make to the corporate world to get involved. If there's a moment to get involved, it is now, as democracy is under siege.
And the uniqueness is you're talking about executives like you were a senior executive at Citigroup. You're talking about a former CEO of American Express. I mean, we've never seen this level of blacks in the corporate world challenge the corporate world. So, Congressman Johnson, this reminds me of similar boycotts in the past, like the one you might recall in 1991 when the NFL voted to remove the 1993 Super Bowl in Arizona after the state failed to recognize Martin Luther King holiday in that state. Several musicians also refused to perform in the state, leading Arizona to eventually recognizing MLK Day. Do you think this tactic will work in Georgia?
Thanks, Reverend Al, for having me on. And yes, I do believe that this will have an impact. It's already got the governor howling like a hit animal. I mean, he's hurting because Georgia's going to lose millions of dollars as a result of his stroke of the pen. And he knows that the people who support him and his policies are the ones whose pocketbooks are going to get hurt by this withdrawal of the All-Star game by Major League Baseball. And so he's hurt, he's howling. Those who support him are doing the same thing. And what it's going to do, Reverend Al, is cause them to recognize that there is a price that they will pay for suppressing the votes of black and brown people as a result of the elections of January 5th this year and November 3rd last year. It was people of color who turned down in Georgia, turned Georgia blue for Joe Biden, turned Georgia blue and elected 2 United States senators. And the end result of that is a backlash or a blacklash with these new voter suppression laws that Brian Kemp signed into law last week. And now they're going to have to pay a price.
Now, Congressman, President Biden said he strongly supports Major League Baseball moving the All-Star Summer Games from Georgia. Although Georgia went blue for the election, their governor and state house are red. Is the political danger for Democrats in calling for boycotts in a state where they are just starting to win statewide elections? Is there danger in that?
Well, I think boycotts, and you know this more than anyone, Reverend Al, have had their place and have played a tremendous part in us as a people being able to advance this far. And we can't take boycotts off the table. And so, you know, folks like Maguire and all of those corporate executives, black and brown, who signed that letter to America at large, but they were basically talking to their colleagues in the business community, that we have to take a stand on the rights of black and brown people to vote. We cannot cross the line and allow politicians like Brian Kemp to interfere or suppress the rights of people to vote. And so, you know, the boycott is always on the table, Reverend Al.
Right.
Some have called for boycott against Delta and Coke. I myself and others feel that because Delta Airlines has 33,000 jobs in Georgia, Coca-Cola has 9,000 jobs in Georgia, 44,000 of which, or 5,000 actually, are in the Atlanta metropolitan area. So when it comes to boycotting those entities, you're talking about people's jobs, but at the same time, when you talk about withdrawing Major League Baseball and the All-Star game from Georgia, that sends a very powerful message to the supporters of the people who voted on the laws that Brian Kemp signed.
Right. Now,
and so I'm hopeful.
That's the point. It started with these laws. Now, Ray, picking up on the congressman's point, for those calling to boycott, there is some concern that these boycotts might actually hurt some of the same people that Democrats want to help in Georgia. For those who think boycotting is not the best move, then what should be done to protest this? If we can't boycott, do we have to choose between jobs and our right to vote? What is there another way? Because I clearly think boycotting is appropriate.
Listen, we got here by all means necessary, Reverend Al. And if we look at what's taking place across the country, according to the Brennan Center, 47 states are now entertaining 300-plus pieces of legislation to suppress voting rights. This is not partisan. This is not something, there's no middle ground here. And so unless we stand up today, we may be laying down tomorrow without a vote. And so I would say I understand the implications of boycotting, which are not insignificant, but I also understand the implications of the hard-fought battles that we've had. And we need today to call on corporate America to stand up proudly yet defiantly in support of what is necessary for us to have social justice, and in so doing, in order for us to have economic justice. They go hand in hand.
Congressman, briefly, I want to turn to another southern state, Virginia, who has become a bastion of voting rights. This week, Democratic Governor Ralph Northam signed a sweeping legislation to make voting easier, like making Election Day a state holiday, repealing the state's voter ID law, and enacting automatic voter registration for those who get a driver's license. Is this a sign of a changing tide in how voters are treated in the South?
I believe so, Reverend Al. I think Georgia will do the same thing that Virginia citizens have done, because the demographics are there, and they're going to continue to get stronger in terms of black and brown voters. Those voters are going to continue to come out, and it may be, well, in 2022, it may well be ushering in the end of the voter suppression and the Old South, because the New South has definitely taken hold with the election of these two new senators, these two Democratic senators. So the New South is here. We just need to bring it home to the state legislature. And I think that can be done in 2022. And then we will begin to treat our citizens the way that Virginia is now treating its citizens insofar as voting rights.
Have to keep the pressure on, and I'm out of time. Ray, I know that you were part of the marches last year around George Floyd, and I understand you're going to join. You promised the family you'd be coming to the trial, and you're going to the trial this week, former Governor Patterson, all of us, and we'll talk about that at another time. Congressman Hank Johnson and Ray Maguire, my thanks to both of you tonight. Coming up, America's